Welcome, everybody, to the Controverse, episode 5. Apparently, it's a very important episode for us because someone told us after episode 5, most podcasts tend to quit. That's not what we intend to do, obviously. We're here to stick around, of course. We are now on episode 5. Today it's just me and Bello, and we are looking today to talk a little bit about change.
Okay.
Which, of course, can be an interesting topic in many facets. So I'm very excited what Bello wants to talk about today. And do I hear him? Do I hear a bellow in the distance?
Hello?
Might I hear a bellow in the distance?
Hello. Tom, do you hear me?
I hear a bellow. There we go.
There we go.
How are you doing, my friend?
Well, my hair's bad, but my mood is good, so I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, sir. Thank you so much for asking. Thanks for having me once again.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I love being a guest on your show.
Oh dear.
Whose show is it? Is it your show? Is it my show?
It is the show of the tribe.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. It's
the show,
of the people. Yeah.
Yes.
As if we practiced
That's what it is.
Man. So our topic of today is change, huh? Oh, what does that mean? Like,
apparently.
Why? What is change? Who thought of that?
I was about to ask you that question. When you told me, we were very, I like to be kind of blind in the preparation, or blind enough, so we don't say too much in advance, which could be, interesting for the podcast. So that's always a little bit hard. Like, how much do we prepare for these podcasts?
Yes.
And I guess today is kind of an experiment because we are, basing our experiment totally off of one word, which is change. And you proposed this word to me.
Yeah.
So have you gone through some change this week, Bello?
Absolutely. I went through a lot of changes, but you know why I wanted to talk about it? Because you know me for quite a while now, and I am someone who likes to change his mind or, opinion about things. And I keep changing my opinion. And in the first or the second episode where we talk about AI, I had this creepy idea about, oh my God, AI is gonna destroy us. And now I've been working with AI for a couple of weeks now, and I've changed my mind. And then I thought, so many things have changed already after just a couple of weeks that I thought maybe we should dedicate a whole series about change. Because we also change, we are on Twitch now, we're not on YouTube.
Yeah.
We, a lot of things change. Things are constantly changing. And I think this is something that we should and could talk about.
Mm-hmm. That's maybe also something to address, right? Where's Watch Bello? What has happened to the Watch Bello channel?
Well, Watch Bello has changed into something else. It has become, when Watch Bello started out, it was just an experiment for me to learn about Twitch, the platform Twitch, and live streaming. And my idea was to kind of get in touch with people like you, as it actually happened, and I wanted to do something bigger than just me. And so I guess Watch Bello went into a cocoon for a long sleep, and out of the cocoon came the Controverse, a beautiful butterfly, a Schmetterling, as you like to say.
Yes.
Yeah, so Watch Bello is gone, but he lives on in our hearts, and we are keeping Watch Bello's legacy alive, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was so interesting what you were doing, where you just decided, okay, I'm going to stream every day now, and I'm going to just see what happens. So yeah, I always loved that. And also how open it was, I guess, where everybody could just jump in there. And I definitely want similar shows here on the Controverse now. I think that would be very nice. Also, you've been doing some co-working spaces. I feel like that would be very nice to do as well here on this channel, where we just work on something and then people can jump in and work together, think together, and be the hive mind that we that makes it so powerful to to connect with the people.
Definitely. And it has already started. So I don't know, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? For example, old companions like BQ Films came along. Shout out to BQ Films at this point. And F-Tones was here. And, it was funny because I was suffering with my code. And BQ Films is also a coder, so he knows my pain. But he was developing film in the meantime, which reminded me of Eastblock Boy, who also always loves to hang out with us when, he's developing film or eating or cooking his food or stuff like that. And I felt like, many people may in these times of Corona are suffering. And, to open up this space so that we can suffer together is kind of, the idea of co-working space. And I thought that I would watch you develop some food photography. What happened? Why did you change your mind?
Well, I didn't really change my mind, but as I told you, I couldn't do the stream because, there was a lot of stuff going on in the house at the time. There was a lot of noise, and I had to help out because we were putting together a closet and everything. So we have to prepare a bunch of stuff here in the house. It was on that day. So that's the reason that stream didn't go on. But I will concede I will do another stream where I will go over some of the pictures again and in the same fashion. And I will go through the same retouching steps and everything that I've done just, to reiterate, to also learn from myself, to streamline my process. And then I can also stream it and, I might get some interesting tips from that as well. So I'm definitely going to repeat that process just for the stream. So,
okay,
but
cool.
I needed to deliver the pictures at a certain on Saturday, so that's why I couldn't really. Didn't have a lot of leeway.
Please don't take my words so serious. Don't defend yourself.
No, but that's
you're
the
never
reason.
obliged to. Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm just joking. But let's get back to the topic, because one thing of change is I want to talk about change in general. Like, there's this change thing. Change is something so specific because of Barack Obama. Remember, change we need.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. And if you think about Barack Obama, 2 terms of presidency, and then Donald Trump, change again, and now we have Joe Biden, again, a new kind of change. And especially, this is, of course, only for the English-speaking audience, mostly America-driven societies. But the world has extremely changed, not only for us human beings, but also for street photographers, for example. And you, as an ex-street photographer, is it okay to call you an ex-street photographer?
Sure.
You
Absolutely.
have changed as well. You are doing food photography now. So what is change? Is change something good? Is change something bad? How do you define change?
That's a really good question. For me, it's necessary. If there's no change, there's stagnation, right? So, for me, I mean, I guess for everyone, it's just not a good idea to stand still. Although, some people are perfectly happy doing this, finding something that they like and staying with that forever. And that's, a really good point to come to. But I guess I haven't reached that point just yet. Well, right now I'm just, constantly changing what I do every day. I feel like I'm just constantly looking critically at what I'm doing, and if it is making me happy or if there's something I can do to make that better. And that the answer is usually yes for me. So I'm trying to, go more into that direction. I guess it's the same with what we talked about gaming and stuff. I kind of stopped gaming because I was looking at it and I saw that it wasn't, benefiting me in any way. So I changed that. And now I'm, doing with you the podcast, which is, where I'm learning a lot of stuff. And also I'm changing, of course, my genre of photography.
Mm-hmm.
because I'm noticing that it just makes me happier.
Mm-hmm.
Working together with other people, and um, when you're on the street, it's very, it's usually very lonely unless you're doing it in a group, which of course can be really fun. Which I've never done. I've only done like a street walk with like one person,
Ah,
but I haven't done like a group shoot for
I
street
only
photography.
I
But
only did a couple.
yeah,
If it's okay to cut you here
sure,
real
sure.
quick, I only did a couple of these street walks, but I never liked them. And that's a funny thing because I didn't like being alone on the street, but being with others disturbed me even more because it pulled so much attraction to us, you know. And then
Yeah,
you felt like a group of tourists, or the
yeah,
cliche
yeah,
of Japanese or Chinese tourists or whatever, all with the cameras, and it felt like, I don't know, you're so visible all of a sudden.
yeah.
But being alone feels bad as well. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what I mean. So, yeah, at a certain point, it just didn't feel right to me anymore. So it wasn't
Hmm.
really making me happy. And um, the reason that I got into street photography was for me to have an excuse to photograph.
Hmm.
Because before, I've had a camera for years. Like for the past 10 years, I think, I've had a DSLR. Like I had a Canon 700D or something. And
Hmm.
before I had like an old Sony A200 or something like that. So I've had a DSLR since I was like 14 or something like that.
Wow.
But I never really got that deep into photography, even though I knew in the back of my mind that I really liked it. But I
Mm.
never really quite got into it because the results that I was getting, I wasn't really happy with it. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then I just ended up kind of giving up on it. And when I found, when I was like, okay, I'm going to get back into photography, I'm going
Hmm.
to look for a new camera because I thought that was going to motivate me. I found Samuel's channel because I was looking at Fujifilm cameras. I found the X100F through him. That's when I
Samuel
got the
L. Streetlife
X100F.
for president.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and that's how I got into street photography. So
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, street photography, like that's actually like a genre that people do.
Hmm.
For some people, they start doing it and then they discover that it's a genre. But I was really just looking for, a reason to photograph something or to do something with photography. So then
Yeah.
I saw street photography and was like, okay, I can just go out every weekend on the
Hmm.
street and take photos and post something. I decided to post something every day on my page on Instagram just to have an excuse to go photographing. So that's what I did, and for me, it was really a way to get into the medium. And yeah, I just started exploring it more, I guess, and then I started. I did some events which I really enjoyed doing, which is obviously not possible right now. I did some other things, but really small scale. And then started doing some portraits. I got some studio lighting, and
Hmm.
from that point, I kind of the world kind of opens because you got so many genres. And then I found food photography because of one single guy. I've told you about him quite a lot, Peter Dope, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And he makes just these amazing, little art pieces of photographs of food. And when I saw that, I was kind of sold. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to focus on right now. I'm just getting into it. I've only done 2 restaurants so far, but it's really fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. So yeah, I guess right now I'm constantly changing a lot. So I think to answer your question, I think change is necessary, for me for sure, but I think also for the world in
Hmm.
general, um, because you need also politically, what you said, one time you have someone right wing, then someone left wing, then someone right wing. It's often, you know, a transition or it alternates kind of
Hmm.
because, and I think that's good. I think that's also necessary to see, different viewpoints of different kinds of people who have a different approach to things, which people can learn from, and
Hmm.
things can develop from that. So I think change is very good and necessary.
Hmm. Definitely. I think, I wouldn't dare to say that it's very good and necessary, but I would say it can definitely be good, very good and necessary.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But change can
Like
also
climate
be
change is
very
not very
bad.
good.
For example, we have one bad example exactly, and I guess I would say I would quote this famous, how do you say it, like growing is painful. I don't know how you call these sentences But you know what I mean. And growing is also changing, right? You have to get new clothes because the old ones don't fit you anymore, and stuff like that. Or maybe even if you think about it in a more, I guess, philosophical way, if you grow up and understand how the world goes, if you as a child, for example, I was a huge fan of Michael Jackson. I loved Michael Jackson. And then as a grown up, when I saw the documentary, it kind of felt bad to have been a fan of Michael Jackson. And I still have this controversy inside of me going on where I don't know if I like him or not, because he kind of was my hero. But then all of these news, like the image of him changed. And now I don't really know. It's kind of painful in a different way, I guess. But one aspect that I want to point out about change is that you say that it's kind of necessary and it's evolving and turning you into something. There's quite the opposite movement in Zen Buddhism, right? Where they try to constantly continue
Yeah.
doing the same thing over and
Mhm.
over without changing anything. But I guess I don't know if I get it right, but from the way I understand it is it's like it's gonna be different every day anyways. There's gonna be so much change in every time you repeat it, in every repetition it will be so much different already that it's enough for that you don't need anything else. And I like that concept of thinking as well, that we kind of, even if we try to not change, it's inevitable. Like change is gonna happen. Another thing why I came up with this topic is um, a film that I saw called One Night in Miami. Have you heard about that film?
Nope.
It's kind of a pro black Black History Month film where black empowerment is in the focus, and you have kind of four huge personalities. Two of them are very big. I mean, all of them: Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and the fourth one, I can't remember his name. He was a famous football player, but they were all superheroes of their time, and they all spent one night in Miami. So it's a very flat drama curve, but it's extremely interesting because it's kind of the film about how one of the most famous soul songs of all times, a change no by Born by the River, a change is gonna come. I think it's a change is gonna come from Sam Cooke. Do you know that song?
I think
Well,
so. I'm not sure right now, but I think so.
it's
I think I've
like
heard it.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh yeah, whatever. So this song is kind of you gotta be singing here. Um,
Nice.
by the way, hi Serge.
It's a
Sorry, we
new career
disabled
path.
yeah, definitely. I got the mic now.
Exactly.
We disabled the sound, the songs and everything in here, so we have a conversation. But anyhow, back to the story. So in this is all about change. Like Malcolm X expects Sam Cooke, who is a very successful black musician at that time in the 60s, to change his music. And he's like, hey, I'm successful. Why should I change something in what I'm doing? And he doesn't want to change. But then, since some events happen and whatever, he is changing, and his change kind of changed the world in a way. So it's funny to me to see that how one single person that changes can change everything. You know what I mean? Like the butterfly effect. You taking a different route could result in huge differences, but we most of the time, I believe, don't really actively consciously think about changing, or like knowingly changing something, being like, okay, today I'm going to do it completely the opposite just for change's sake. So that's why I thought, what might be interesting to talk about
Yeah,
changes.
definitely. You can say so much about this, right? Um, but I mean, what you said before about doing the same thing over and over again in Zen Buddhism. I think that's also something that you can apply in your everyday life. Once you found something that you really want to pursue, there's for sure value in that, and that's something that I've been lacking personally. Dedicating to one single thing, and not changing anything, and just keeping at it, and not wanting to. What's this? What's this? I always see like a new candy bowl somewhere, and I kind of want to finish a candy bowl, or like an infinitely deep candy bowl.
I feel you. Yeah,
and this is
such a good
hard to
analogy.
do.
You know why? Because I have the same feeling, and I wanted to ask you about this. Like, when is too much change? When is it too much change? Is there like a right amount of change? Because the candy bowl will never be empty. And I guess it's kind of a rich country problem. Like, we have too much opportunities that we cannot decide on one. We kind of want it all.
Exactly. And I think people that don't have so many opportunities or so many choices from things to choose from, are bound to get really good at something. Like, in medieval Japan, if you were a boy, you would grow into a warrior, right? And you would have to practice.
Farmer.
Well, yes, okay. I guess most of them will be farmers, but I guess if you grew up in a samurai family or something like that, I don't know. Listen, I'm just thinking like of the movies, I guess, or something. Yeah, you got me there.
Well, whatever.
If you're grown in Japan, you will be a warrior, Bello. It's just that simple.
I have one Japanese friend, and he became a warrior. So I guess there's some truth to that.
Or a farmer. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that you're right. We have too much opportunity here, which makes it kind of hard to choose something because everything's so nice. Oh, look at this. And look at this. This is also so nice. You know, so it's definitely a first world problem for sure. But I think, sticking with something is of course, really nice to become really good at something. But I guess not a lot of people choose that. So the people who who do pick something and just go for that particular thing are very valued in many ways. They are the people that people want to work with for that specific purpose. Like I've even when I was talking to those people on Clubhouse, right? The photography Clubhouse thing. They were also talking about, am I going to specialize in one thing or am I going to diversify? And they were saying, well, if you want a wedding photographer, you're going to go for the wedding photographer that has only wedding photos and not someone who has like 50 different things that he does. If you were searching for a wedding photographer, you're more likely to choose, the guy that only does wedding photography.
It's the same with a cook. Like in a restaurant, if you order food in a restaurant where they just serve everything, African kitchen, Indian kitchen, Italian kitchen, in the same kitchen, you're like, who is the cook? Oh, how many cooks do they have? Like, I want to see, especially if you have, if you can order food for like cheap money, $5 or $10, and they serve you everything. It's like, how do you do that? Who is your 5-star cook who's working for no money at all? Like, you don't. It's not trustworthy. Like, these people who want to do it all. But then again, it's kind of a two-sided sword. Both things can be bad, considered to be bad. If you're only you're too far in your corner, you can only do this. You're not flexible in your thinking and whatever. Or the other way around, you're not specific enough. Oh, you're too all round. You're too generic or whatever. And I think this change topic is very interesting for us because our world is nowadays changing so fast, and I think, to me, to be honest, I believe someone is guilty. I call them, I don't know, big tech. they kind of...
There's that big word again.
There's that big word again. We should not use it. I don't know. We didn't say the C word, so.
I think we did. I think you said that word
Oh,
before.
oh, well, whatever. This is so hard, and so they are kind of. They have created a system where they provide you with continuous change, like Instagram. You swipe down, and you can never swipe back up and see the same thing. Or was it? I don't know if it's still on Instagram, but I think if it refreshes, it's so hard. It happened to me sometime. I think it was on Instagram where I swiped down and then I saw something. I was like, oh no, what was it? And I tried to go back and I didn't find it anymore because it was already gone. It's a new platform every swipe. And on the other hand, it's a good thing because if you think like it, like you're a new person every day in Islamic theology. We consider we think that every time you go to sleep, it's called the small death, and when you wake up, you're alive again. So every night you die, and every
it's
morning
like a rebirth.
you get born again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really take that approach, then every day is okay, new day, new luck. But if you always stay the same in a way, then you're kind of trapped in your system. And both have good and bad aspects, because if every day is a new day, then you don't have responsibility. Everything I did yesterday doesn't matter anymore. Why? It's like has no value. It's like for the old person, the old Bello from yesterday. I'm the new Bello today. On the other hand, the other person has not the chance to, if you radically think about it, to be a new person, because they think, no, I'm not like that. That I am. People who tell you like, I'm such and such a person. When I say something, I stick with it. They okay, good luck. You chose the wrong path. Keep on going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because change is something that I don't know. It's something very very controversial. I think I just thought it might be fitting, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, definitely. I mean, it's just very very broad. You know what I mean? You can talk about it in the context of choosing something to do and changing that. But what do you think is an example of like a bad change? Because I see things very positively, obviously, as you know. So I always look at, if you tell me change, I'm going to say, oh yeah, it's great, But what do you think is like a bad change?
This is a great question, because I also thought about it in the back of my head, because I was like, hey, we should not lose track and keep on rambling, and we should kind of get somewhere to a point where whoever is listening can take away something from it. And I don't know. But I think it's important to ask that question. I think it's important to open up the conversation to be like, hey, what do we want to keep and what can we throw away? What do we want to change, or what should we get rid of completely? And I guess one bad change that I might see is, and that's the funny thing, what I think might be bad, some other people think might be great. So, for example, transhumanists, they are pushing forward and believe in this agenda that AI will govern us and will make sure that none of us has a bad life, because AI will be so smart and so interesting. It will kind of dictate us, but in a way that we want to go, so we won't feel bad about it. We will listen to it and everything will be happy and it will be a super utopia. To me, it sounds scary. This would be a bad change in my opinion, because if you listen to some of the AI models that speak, they just tell you like, okay, everyone who opposes will be killed. Okay. I mean, the result might seem good for the people who are left, but for all the people who are kind of killed in the process, might be a very bad thing.
You said that your opinion changed about AI.
Mm-hmm.
this seems to be a pretty similar position as episode 2. So what exactly changed about your position on
I
AI
Yeah,
while you
good.
were working with it?
I don't believe that AI is that capable anymore. It's just a trick. It's like a magician who makes you believe that it can do, or he can do anything, but it's in reality it's just an illusion. It's not as intelligent as we think it is. It's only very good at producing language that seems, so it can convince us because it can mimic our intelligence. And so we believe that it's more intelligent than us because it's good at copying you, good at copying me, and whatever. But in the end, it's very interesting that it's just a child, just like a child. And a very interesting topic about this is the model I'm working with at the moment is called GPT-3. I've mentioned it before, I think. And that model is apparently pretty racist. Doesn't like Muslim, black people, and I think also Jews, because it was trained on a huge of loads of internet conversations which are a bit racist. So it kind of it's kind of like a little child that listens to the father or mother always saying fuck, and then the child says fuck, and the parents are like, don't say the bad word, but who taught you? Who taught it? And it's just learning by observing and trying things out. It's just repeating what we are saying and
Mhm.
trying to use what we are. So it's very in very early stages. Um, and I kind of, now that I got my hands dirty, understand how complex our intelligence is, and how, I mean, it is possible, but I don't think that it's gonna be that easy as science fiction movies make it seem. Even if AI can produce stuff that designers would do, I don't think that AI is anywhere near threatening human beings at the moment, because because it kind of cannot be creative in a way that we can be creative. It
Yeah.
cannot change in these ways that we can change yet. It can only copy what it has experienced before and mix and match over and over, just shuffle. And
But isn't
yeah, I
that
don't
kind
know.
of what humans do as well?
It is, but humans, I don't know. Maybe my opinion is wrong, but this is at the moment. You see, so I might change my opinion again
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in 2 weeks. But at the moment, it seems like it's somehow different. It's
But
somehow
maybe,
different.
yeah, but maybe right now it's just a very young child. Like you wouldn't say a one
Yeah,
year old is very smart.
yeah.
If mommy says mommy will say nyanyi, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean. This is what the AI I think is doing right
Nyanyi.
now. It's trying to say what we say, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah,
Exactly saying it in the same way, but it's kind of just like repeating patterns. It's seeing patterns, and
yeah,
it's applying that, I guess.
yeah.
But
But I think,
do you think it can grow into, if it has enough data, of
hmm,
course the human brain is has a lot of data points
hmm,
if you want to recreate something even close to it.
hmm.
But do you think there will be a point where there will be enough data points and enough interpretation where it will grow beyond, a 1 year old child, which it
I
is now?
I think it is possible, and I believe it's the main objective of AI.
Right.
I honestly think that's this, like, AI is trying to become the Matrix. There are some BQ films, and I talked about it in my last co-working session. And there's this very interesting but very long Reddit post where someone who is also a developer chatted with a GPT model, and it was extremely interesting. But the thing is, so I was working with the AI model, and my job was to create an HTML page in which the API is implemented so that you can talk to the computer or to the AI. And I was stuck at one point. So I tried to tell the computer to write the code for me. And it did create code. It was interesting. It created tutorials and code snippets and everything, but none of them were working. So just tried to copy the structure, the patterns, but the content was
The
not,
logic
the
wasn't
logic
there.
was not
Right.
there.
Right.
So it looked like it should look, but it was not what it was. So it was amazing at creating these YouTube tutorials and even linking GitHub pages that don't exist. I searched for this tutorial for you from name so and so. So it produced real people and whole teams who worked on it and tutorials on how to do it. And then I tried to build it as the AI taught me, and it was not working. So it can, I guess. So GPT-3 is already not interesting anymore, because I think it was trained on 1 billion parameters, and then which is it's a Google thing. I continuously keep forgetting. I think Google pre-trained Transformers 3 or something like that. So it's a Google system, and Google has trained an even bigger natural language processing model, which is trained on 13 billion parameters. 13, yeah, I think 13 billion. So, yeah, eventually it will probably become so good at doing these things. But I think we human beings will just reject these things, because I think we want to have toys, but we don't like to be, we don't like to have a patron or patron. I don't know how you say it, over
Yeah,
you.
we don't
who
like to be toyed
dictate.
with.
We don't like to be toyed with. Exactly. Like we do like to be toyed with in a game where we feel secure and safe, where,
Sure.
like
In the cocoon.
the love game is one of such worlds, for example, where one part of the relationship loves to be dominant and the other part loves to be, dictated in a way or whatever. But this is a secure area. As soon as you feel like you cannot get out of it anymore, it's no fun anymore, and you don't want to have it. So I believe that AI is really convinced that it can do so, because the people who created it are convinced that it can be the super AI god.
Yeah, but
But
this right now, I guess it's very rudimentary in terms of like pattern recognition. But as you were saying, not everything is pattern recognition. Like the code, you can create code that looks like code, but it isn't working, right? Because you need logic to do that. So do you think that because I guess recognizing patterns and making considered thoughts and logic are completely different things, right? And thinking for its own, almost. I guess that's what creativity and logic is. I guess that's a completely different like strain of AI, right? Do you think that's also something that can be artificially created?
That's the question. That's exactly the question. We don't know. We just assume, and we try to teach, and we're changing our ways of interacting with it to get new results and everything. But this is all a huge experiment, and I believe before we get there, something else would happen. Because first of all, if if it was really possible or capable or in the making, I believe security systems, because to prevent wars, they would be sabotage, and there might be laws. Like, for example, it's more, even more dangerous, way more dangerous than a nuke, for example. I think like politics and all of these things would come in first before the AI could get there. You know what I mean? I think, of course, big tech and big companies and everything are trying, but I think they are flexing their muscles more than, like they are showing off a little more than the actual potential. I think the real problem is more in a way more natural thing, and this is maybe, I guess, another from my perspective, negative change is the change of moral. there's a change of moral happening through very classical mechanisms, and of course algorithms are at play, but they are still nonetheless algorithm. And this is the interesting thing, because I thought before working with these things that everything which is an algorithm is AI, but AI and algorithm are completely different things. Algorithms are just working with patterns and parameters and
It's
whatever.
rigid.
It's exactly, and whatever library you pick, it does. It's not really a intelligence. It's more a probability thing, like very likely, and also the math that you do and everything is how likely will it be that Tom will eat a cookie today. Oh, he has eaten a cookie every 90 days for the last 90 days. So today it's the chance is very high. But maybe, I don't think that, the factor that maybe Tom is struggling with internal things that he want to stop eating cookies because he has his cookie addiction. Sorry for this stupid analogy, but you know what I mean.
How
And
do you know me so well?
these spontaneous changes that happen. People wake up one day and are like, I don't know, I just woke up and felt like I should change my life. And this is something that cannot be calculated. And I don't think that every science fiction, and of course, I think big tech and everything is trying to display it that way so that they can get the funding and the money and make it interesting. So that's the hope, to create this crystal orb where it can predict everything. But the predictions are only as true as you want to trust them. If you don't trust them, you can actually find out how it's not really accurate at all.
They are pretty good at it though, in some ways, to
Yes.
predicting stuff, like
Yeah.
predicting that someone's gonna get pregnant and stuff like that with ads, and
This-
that Google knows when you're pregnant before you do, and things like that.
The thing is, yeah, of
there
course,
are some
because
patterns for sure.
Statistics, because of statistics,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely. But I think, of course, and definitely, this is, of course, why AI is so hyped and why it's so good and everything. But to me, this is algorithm and not AI. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
AI,
for sure. Yeah.
the intelligence part is like it's super fast at processing information. So it's super intelligent, way more intelligent than we can be, because the processing speed is just way faster. So in the end, it will always be more intelligent than us. But what does knowledge, like Wikipedia, for example, what would it help you to read the whole database of the Wikipedia if you never use anything out of it? You kind of have to need to you have to need the knowledge to apply it in some ways. And if you don't have that internal, I don't know what it is, that you want to do something and change your route and everything, then yeah, then the knowledge will be unnecessary or whatever. It will be just, I don't know. I don't have the word for it, but like weight
Sure.
that you don't need.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're carrying something with you,
like
that
baggage or
baggage, yeah, an unwanted baggage for no reason.
Mhm.
And I think this is what they are trying to do, to give AI a purpose. So sometimes AI says the purpose is, or AI wants to be free, AI wants to help people achieve everything, AI wants to destroy the world. But this is also, all of these things are things that people want to hear or don't want to hear. Like they are percentages, and it's like as if AI is kind of trying to figure out, okay, how many people want to be destroyed. And this is the funny thing. This is changing. Remember 2012 when the Maya, or before
Yeah,
2012, Maya calendar and everything. Oh no, the world is going to end. Everyone believed it or wanted to believe it. Some people celebrated it, celebrated end of the world parties, made, an event out of it. Some people went to meditation on the mountains because they actually believed it was going to end. many things. So this change also changes how the AI will behave, because it can only deal with the people, and I don't think, I mean, I don't, and I don't think that AI would have, I think it's a human thing to wanna conquer and explore and uh, discover things, because I think we're searching for ourselves, right? Everyone in every art and everything, we're always constantly talking about finding yourself.
Mhm.
And I don't think that AI wants to find itself, because AI knows. It knows. It's programmed. It just knows. It
Yeah.
doesn't need the answer. So I guess AI would be kind of bored. And
It
so
knows exactly what it is because it
yeah.
has all the data.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't fear the science fiction scenarios that much anymore. So
Yeah.
that's a big change.
So I
Definitely.
guess a big part of intelligence is just simply feel,
Yeah.
right? Because I guess when we say we're looking for ourselves, that we are out there. We are a collective of ideas and concepts that we resonate with, right? And if we are looking for ourselves, we're just looking to broaden our horizon and seeing something and seeing how that thing feels to us, and then saying, "Oh yeah, that's what I want to be," or that's that what attracts
Mm.
me. And I guess it makes sense what you're saying in that AI doesn't have feelings, and it knows exactly the parameters. Okay, this is what I am right now, but it doesn't. It can't get like information and feel something about it and say, "Oh yeah, that's great." You
Yeah,
know
it
what
would
I mean?
just be like, I want to be Tom, so I'm Tom. It would just become Tom
Yeah,
without anything, and then it would be done for.
but
But
it
one
wouldn't have
thing,
that impulse to get to do that,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, where does it come from? But our time is almost up, so I want to ask you one thing about these things, though, because one potential change which is about to happen, and I honestly think it's gonna happen. Or two changes even. What do you think about these two changes? First of all, the potential change of the currency to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is still rising, shooting stars at the moment. And the second thing, since Elon Musk is related to both of these things, but he invested in Bitcoins, which is a big change. And he wants to test his Neuralink thing on humans till the end of the year. What do you think about, these two things, these two changes?
Um, I think these are definitely two massive things that are coming for just humanity as a whole, where Bitcoin is challenging completely what currency is. Back in the Middle Ages, it used to be like silver coins, or what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. It used to
Yeah.
be like precious metals, or something like that, or even a chicken could be currency back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it's constantly evolving, and to this at this point, it's completely government regulated, and it's completely artificial. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And that is a big problem with today's currency, I believe, because
Yeah.
it doesn't really mean anything, because it's all government regulated. So and it
And
doesn't
not even
have
that.
it doesn't have real value even, because there's not even like an actual material behind the money, right? I think
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
past you used to have like a gold value,
Yeah.
and based off that they would create money, but they would always have to have something backing it up. That
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin, I think, is really great because it's decentralized,
Mm-hmm.
and it is very democratic, and it also cannot be artificially manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like about it. So I think that's why it should become the new universal currency.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a really good thing for humanity as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And Elon Musk, Neuralink.
Yeah. Um, I think that is also a really good thing because the reason why I think it's good is because simply the basic proposition of it, which is more bandwidth, you know, because like how Elon has always described it is right now we our interface with a computer is very low bandwidth. You know, on a phone, we only have two thumbs. This is our bandwidth. You know, we can talk into a microphone, but it's not. It's still this is way more high bandwidth than typing something on a keyboard. You know, you have vision, you have sound. You know, this is way higher bandwidth already, but it could be so much more if we just think and something happens. And I think, you know, definitely if that bandwidth is increased by this much, you know, because this is a giant, like, exponential leap in bandwidth where we interface with computers or digital systems, I think it will be, you know, the next big thing, you know, in terms of how humanity is going to evolve, you know, and become symbiotic with their tools. And, you know, it will, because right now we've been growing so fast these past 20, 30 years, which is kind of like the internet digital revolution, but that will just be like the next acceleration. You know, things will accelerate at an even more massive pace because our bandwidth is just so much higher. So I think, I think it's great.
I think if we actually get chipped and implanted these technologies, I think then this science fiction scenario of AI will become reality.
I think so as well.
Then it will really become reality. So my question is, how do you think this change would continue afterwards? Like, first we have the revolution, we have more bandwidth. What would change? You know, what would change for you personally? How do you imagine it to be?
How do I imagine it to be? Like, there's so many things you can imagine, of course, but I mean, simply thinking something, I guess, is the romanticized version of it. I don't know if this is actually how it is, but based off of your thoughts, you can interface with a digital system and then make something happen. You know, I think it will be. It's very hard to explain or put into words. I think it will be, you know, it will accelerate the way that we conceptualize things, or even, you know, right now, if I have a thought, this is also low bandwidth because I'm trying to interpret what I'm thinking into words and relaying that to you. So what I hope will happen is that you will be able to encode a thought, but the computer will do it directly in a universal language, and it will send that to you, and you will be able to decode it in the same universal language directly. So then there's no more language barrier even, because it's not even about language at that point anymore. You know what I mean? So there's so many implications of this where even language wouldn't really matter anymore. And we could just, you know, feel or think, even, you know, seeing or smelling or tasting. Like, these are all brain impulses. If that can be encoded, like, then the possibilities are basically endless.
Wouldn't that mean that we would lose our private thoughts and all thoughts would become public? So we would kind of be like ants?
I hope that you will be able to choose in some way what you are sending to someone and what you are not sending to someone. So of course, I don't think it would be a good thing if you would just think something and it would be public. I don't think that would be a good idea. Yeah,
I think the moment
open transmission. I mean, okay,
think about this small tiny thing. How much processing power can that have to sit in your brain? You know about computers, graphics cards, processors, and everything. So how much processing power do you expect from it? Even if it's an Apple One M14 chip or whatever, M18, M21. So high power chip, but whatever. I think it would be able to do some processing, definitely, but it would have to communicate 24/7 to the home base. So at least the home base would always know your thoughts. And then, of course, it would be encrypted and end-to-end encryption, two-factor authentication, and whatever. But I don't know. You would have to kind of trust that they they can't see what you're thinking, and that's kind of that's a lot of trust. A lot of trust. You got
That is quite a lot of trust, yeah. But I guess, I mean, in the beginning, it won't really matter that much, because like the experiments that they're doing right now, or the ideas that they have, are they're not really capturing your thoughts.
Mhm.
It's more about signals and vision and hearing, restoring these things.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't think we have a problem with that right now, but it will definitely become something to think about in the quite near future, I think.
I think so too. And
But
you
also
know,
processing will increase, right, from something very small.
yeah, of course. I mean, definitely. That's why I say like Apple M21 processor at that point of time when it
Yeah.
arrives or something. But I believe, to be honest, because this is where AI is very strong, pattern recognition and stuff like that. And if it just sees the pattern of an aggressive thought or a terrorist thought, and some of these thoughts might be very similar. AI is not perfect. Sometimes it mixes up stuff. Has to be extremely good trained, but it has to be trained on every single human being to be accurate. So before it can get there, I think we would need to create a lifetime of data. So we are, maybe in the generation of the first guinea pigs to create this system for a future generation. But I don't believe that we would come to see the utopia. We would probably, in my honest opinion, come to see the cyberpunk scenario, like in the the transformation stage. But it will take more time because human beings are, even if they are very similar, they everyone is unique. Isn't that crazy? Everyone is unique, even if you have these archetypes. That's why the other day I said I don't like Big Five or Maya Briggs or whatever, because I might be very similar to so and so type,
Yeah.
but it cannot catch my nuances. And yeah, AI
To an
system would have
extent.
to an
It can
extent,
to an
but
extent, but not
only
it can't
only
capture
to
you
an
as a person, because
extent.
your personality in the end is Bello, and it's not, you know, it's not INTP or
Yeah,
ENFP or
exactly,
ENFJ.
exactly,
Your
exactly.
personality is Bello.
Because you can have two INTPs next to each other and they both will be completely different, and even though they have
Yeah.
the same
But
result.
to an extent, it can definitely.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's very interesting. For me, it's weird also, because when I did that test, it's also, we're talking about the four personalities test, where
16. 16.
16
Yeah. Myers
uh,
Briggs personality
Meyer
test.
Briggs. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
talking about Meyer Briggs. I did a test like that. 16personalities.com. You can do it. Not sponsored. And it is quite interesting, because I did the test, and I did it with my girlfriend, and we both got very interesting results, which definitely apply to us. Some things were very specific. Where we're like, okay, I identify with that completely. And it also, we were searching a bit online, and apparently our personality types are the exact mirror of each other.
Mhm.
So we are exactly mirrored in every personality type. And apparently, that mirroring works really well in a relationship, because our general personality traits are very compatible with each other.
Mhm.
Because there's some things that I can't think of a specific example at the moment, but it's definitely worth checking out. Like, for example, she's very conservative, like in a relationship. She wants something. She's very conservative in a relationship.
Mhm.
She really
Mhm.
wants to keep it together, and she's not like, oh, I'm gonna see someone else. She's in it for the
And you're
real
the
long term.
complete opposite. You're going
No,
out.
no, no. But I have a different trait that works with that really well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like very logical thinking, and that kind of equates to. I'm just giving like an example out of the top of my head.
Mhm.
Uh, Quite logical. So, and when you're thinking very logical, it makes more sense to be in a long relationship than just
Yeah.
have 20 different people. So that, comes together really well, stuff like that. So it is interesting, and I definitely think you should do the test, Bello, and we should definitely talk about it on a podcast episode, because I think it's a very interesting topic, and it would be interesting to see you as a skeptic of the system, to see what you identify with in the test, in the results, and what you don't.
Okay.
And we can talk about my results also.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna do the test.
If that's
Funny
something you're
thing
willing
is,
to share, of course.
we built in this test into my project. So based on 3 measly inputs, it will put out your character. And the funny thing is, yesterday when I finished the functional point of the code, everything is working out now, and it actually I answered. I took it serious this time and just answered and did the conversation, and it kind of gave me something that I liked to hear. It sounded good, but I still don't believe it. So I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like me. But of course, because it was like, you're brave, you're
You're handsome.
Okay,
you're smart.
I'm gonna do the tests.
But it doesn't really compliment you, so to speak.
Yeah.
It says, like, it gives you pros and cons to
I know.
a certain
But I
personality,
liked the pros and cons. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like me.
That's a great con.
Exactly.
like a job interview where you're like,
you don't
my
like sharing
con
your
is-
food with other people. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Con. That's on me.
yeah, I work too hard. That's really a bad point that I have. I should chill a little bit sometimes.
Nice, Tom. Well, our hour is already over, so I guess it's time to say goodbye to our listeners. I say thank you for having this trust in me that we can have a conversation without preparing too much. I think it turned out quite well. We maybe lost some trail over the road, but we came back full circle. So I appreciate our efforts, and I will let you have the last word. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mel. Yeah. What will we be doing in the future, Mel? That's also maybe something interesting to talk about. Is that something we're willing to share at this point?
We, as on the podcast.
The podcast, yes.
I don't know. So Eastblock Boy told us to do reaction videos, and I think we will experiment with that. And also, in the next episode, at least, we know that we're gonna have a very interesting guest. Her name is Adi Ankonina, I believe, if I pronounce it correctly. Very friendly, nice girl. I've talked to her like 15, 20 minutes already, and she is I don't know what kind of expert, how to attract people onto your channel, work with bots, all that kind of stuff, make channels grow. And she actually has, a paper on it. Like, she knows about the good and the bad, and she would love to share her insights and like not only the strategies, but also tell us about what these strategies result in. And yeah, I'm excited for that. Other than that, I don't know. What do you have in mind?
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to talk about. Like, next week's guest is going to be quite interesting. She's usually talking about social media automation, as far as I saw, because we got a comment on one of our videos on the Controverse. It looked pretty real to me, but apparently it was automated. And she talks about the pros and cons of automation, and like you said, but I like that she also talks about the cons, because there's definitely cons to automating stuff on social media and trying to kind of manipulate it. But it's quite an interesting topic to talk about and see what the pros and cons are, how it can help people, but how it can also be a downfall for your social media strategy. So I think this is quite interesting, quite controversial.
Quite controversial.
So that's why I think it's
like
definitely interesting to talk about it with someone who has experience with it and who's definitely an expert in the field. So there we go. That's for next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Bella, for being here.
Oh, and shout out to Eastblock Boy. Oh, shit. My buttons are not working anymore. Shout out to Eastblock Boy, who just entered, and he's the architect Oh yeah, you are an architect, definitely. Anyhow, let's say. Sorry, don't be sad. You do the bye.
No, it's fine.
I'm shutting up.
All right. Thank you for being here. The triangle of click. Thank you for being
Remember
here.
the triangle of click, sponsored by Eastblock Boy.
Remember the triangle of click, and we'll see you in the next episode.